Okay, I need to preempt your comments and just say that John Wick freaking rules, and I am by no means trashing that quadrilogy of action classics. But every story has its weak points. There are some inherent problems with John Wick as a character, and more importantly, as a hero. He doesn't really have any motivation for what he's doing by the end of it all, adding to the issues with his character. He's just a killing machine with very little emotional reasoning or logic to back it up. Sure, he seems to hold strong feelings for his dead wife and doggo, but his ability to murder countless people with no real sense of regret is a little disturbing. He's kind of a sociopath. Not that I'm complaining, I love watching the man work, but as a hero, he's a bit suspect. Now, the CGI. Nothing takes us out of a decent action scene like overt computer enhancement. This is most obvious in many of the gunfight sequences. The worst CGI is probably the Arc de Triomphe scene in Chapter 4, wherein the many cars illogically continuing to speed along during a gunfight look very much like computer graphics. It's a little frustrating because the series is also marked by some stellar work in that department. Just look at the Hall of Mirrors scene in Chapter 2, wherein a ton of CGI was used to erase the camera and crew from the many reflective surfaces. That's amazing stuff. It's a reasonable safety concern to use actual gunfire, so I can't really blame the production team for not wanting to use blank-firing weapons, especially in those scenes that require close-quarters gunfighting. Then there's the secret society of it all. As much as I do enjoy a lot of the world building, the High Table is kind of a lame organization, existing seemingly just so Wick can have a reason for his vengeance after putting a bow on his motivation in Part 1. What we see of the High Table in Chapters 3 and 4 make it seem far less threatening than it's meant to be, and many of those it employs are simply not as fearsome as the filmmakers might like. The actual members of the High Table in particular are they're not that exciting. Except for Scott Adkins' Killa. He's a delight, and if there's one huge flaw with Chapter 4, it's that we don't get enough Scott Adkins. Man, give me that Killa Harkins spinoff any day of the week. The more expanded the universe becomes, the more challenging it is to accept it as reality. In the first film, it's done in such a way that it feels fairly insulated, but by Chapter 4, it feels as if there's more secret society than there is normal society. It's frustrating because it's also cool that we as the audience want to believe what we're seeing, but it's also ridiculous that it has a nasty habit of taking us out of the movie's world. Then there's the action sequences, which, as we go throughout the series, tend to have next to no tension. There's some in the fourth installment by virtue of the finality of it all, but overall they tend to present a god mode superhero killing off henchmen with little to no real issue. This is made all the worse by the technology at John's disposal, specifically his silly bulletproof suit, which becomes even more eye-rollingly preposterous as more characters wind up wearing one. It's not just that the technology doesn't make much sense, but it also takes away from the danger inherent in many of the situations John finds himself in. Add in his incredible abilities as a killer and remarkable survivability when thrown off buildings and hit by cars, and you've got a character who's so OP that when he finally is taken down, it feels as unbelievable as his suit. In fact, I'd say that out of all the issues with the franchise, this has to be the biggest one. Out of all the films, Chapter 4 is ironically the one that most doubles down on Wick's invulnerability, and because of that, it's the one where I found myself most distracted and even bored by large chunks of the action. It's an unfortunate issue, but one that I feel could be handled given a little retconning of the series' tech and more focus on presenting a more flesh and blood protagonist. Also, just go ahead and stop expanding on the world. We're in this for no-holds-barred action spectacles, not the intricacies of the High Table or whatever. And that's all I got. John Wick continues to be a next-level franchise, and I'm pumped as all heck to check out Ballerina. Hopefully this is a world we continue to see expanded on throughout the years, although ideally with less high-table shenanigans and more realistic action beats. What do you think? Are there problems with John Wick that I didn't cover, or are all of my complaints lame nonsense written for clicks? Shoot it out in the comments, and thank you for watching ScreenRant.